Hey guys, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Michelle. I am an incoming Columbia Business School student for the class of 2022. So excited to finally say that after this crazy journey. So I will be documenting both how I got here today, how I got through the GMAT and the application process, and then going forward, I'm sure there'll be plenty of vlogs to show the day-to-day life experiences that a business school student kind of goes through in New York City. So if you're interested in that content, make sure you hit subscribe below, and let's jump into today's video. So today we're going to be talking about the general resources that helped me while I was preparing for the GMAT. And I want to preface all this by saying that my journey on the GMAT was not linear by any means. There was plenty of twists and turns. I ended up taking the exam 4 times. Yes, 4 times. And I know there's a lot of advice about how many times you should take the exam and at what point you shouldn't take the exam any longer and maybe devote your time to boosting your application overall. And I think that's such a personal decision. So that's why I really am open about how many times I've taken it. I think there's no shame in that. There's folks that are just better test takers. And I think there was different resources that helped me along this journey at different stages. And that's sort of what I want to share with you guys today in one comprehensive video. What are the things that I used, and kind of so that you don't worry about why I have so many resources. I think that just naturally you learn that certain resources are more helpful at different points in your prep. So that, just keep that in mind as we go through all of the resources that I have today. I want to start by saying I did the Manhattan GMAT prep course in New York City at the start of my GMAT. And what I found to be really helpful with this course was 2 things. The first thing is it really just helped me give me an overview of the exam itself. Any standardized exam really has its nuances that you need to learn, and the GMAT is absolutely no exception. There's different sections like data sufficiency, critical reasoning, sentence corrections that you just need to learn the process and strategy in a very general sense. And so that is what the Manhattan GMAT prep course really gave me. It gave me that overview of all the strategies that you really should know prior to sitting for the exams, both in the format, timing, and little tips and tricks about like crossing out different answer choices, that sort of stuff. So the Manhattan GMAT prep course was really helpful in giving me that overview. Of course, it's these red books that you guys might be familiar with. They do different books on different chapters and topics, and I found them to be very helpful. I used them throughout my studies. I actually went through each of the books and took notes. So I do want to throw it out there. I think they're a worthy purchase and a worthy investment, and I do think that they were beneficial to my overall study plan. Now, I know they are expensive, and so when I sit back and reflect on what I really got out of the program, I would say that if you're able to buy the books from a friend or a discounted rate, and you actually Google Manhattan Prep YouTube videos, there's so many things out there that give you at least a taste of what the course looks like. And I actually think that if you were to dig into each and every one of those videos, because they have plenty of videos from their real instructors, you might get the same value out of it. So definitely hit that first before you make that investment. But if you like the structure of a class, and for me, I think I come from a non-traditional background, so I was a little intimidated by who was taking the GMAT. And I think by being in the classroom setting, I got to see, who was I really competing with? Who were the people that were also looking into this journey? Not to say that, there's this competitive edge in the class. There's absolutely not. People are very friendly. They want to help each other. But it does give you an idea of who's in the class, who's taking the exam. And to me, that gave me like this confidence boost. Not everyone is from an IB background. And so that's really what I took away from the course. The next thing I want to note is there is one of these books that I think is a holy grail, and I will do a separate video on both the quant and verbal section, what helped me most, but the sentence correction of the Manhattan GMAT book is unreal. Really take your time with that if you get access to it. I think that resource for sentence corrections really covered it for me. Okay, so we talked about Manhattan Prep. Make sure you check out the videos that they have on their YouTube. Moving into the next resource I used, which was Magoosh. So I did pay for the Magoosh plan, and I think Magoosh does a fantastic job with the quant section, kind of walking through each of those videos, short clips of each topic, helped me review all of the math content that I needed at that time. So I do recommend the Magoosh content for math. I didn't love the English, so I didn't love the English section of Magoosh, but really found the math to be comprehensive. The next resource I want to talk about is kind of the third resource I came across in my journey, and I wish I came across this sooner, and it's the GMAT Club. The GMAT Club is basically the Reddit of the GMAT. It basically has a community of folks that are both professional contributors and students and folks that are just interested in taking the exam. And that by far was my game changer. I think that is when I discovered that platform, that's where I really saw the greatest boost to my score. And I think it's because I was able to actually go through each of the OG, which I'll talk about in a second, from the original guide, the questions that are real GMAT questions. The GMAT Club experts actually give you solutions, and they walk you through sort of like, how do you answer the question and why did you get this question wrong? And then people actually respond. And you know, sometimes if the explanation is not clear, you'll get an even further, it almost feels like you're in the class with these experts. So I cannot recommend the GMAT Club highly enough. There's 2 folks on the GMAT Club that contribute that I actually like just looked at their responses every time I came across a question. And that's Bunel. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I'm gonna post his name on the screen. This guy is a math whiz. He really explains the math concepts so well. So if you see posts by him, I think you can definitely trust the explanation. And then GMAT Ninja. GMAT Ninja is my man. I really don't know if I would have gotten the score that I needed on the GMAT without GMAT Ninja. So he posts plenty of explanations for free on the GMAT Club. Use him as a resource. It is fantastic and definitely was a game changer. After I took the GMAT maybe 2 times, I believe, by the time I was taking the third one, I knew I needed to refresh my math section again because I had taken sort of the summer to travel a bit and sort of die down. So I think I took it in May and June, and then I was like, listen, I need to have a little bit of a break over the summer before I dive into taking it again in the fall. And so that break kind of, you know, allowed me to breathe, remove myself from the content a little bit, and gain that energy to really do this a second time, or a third time, I should say. And so I needed to refresh the math section. I found that I, missed a few of the topics, missed a few of the nuances. And so I paid for Target Test Prep, which is a monthly subscription plan. And I think they do a fantastic job of going through all the math concepts. I didn't want to redo the Magoosh because I felt like I wanted to be re-energized by new material, new content, and a new way of sort of going through the content. And the thing that I think is fabulous about Target Test Prep is they give you these little boxes of wisdom that you need to remember and take away. So if you're reviewing a section on inequalities, he'll give you the main takeaway in one box, and it's sort of the thing that I either wrote down in my books as a note to remember, or just like overall general, like here's what you need to know for this topic. So fantastic resource, highly recommend. Do think it's a little on the pricier side because you pay per month, but if you're willing and okay to make the investment, it was definitely worth it. I mentioned GMAT Ninja, but I'm going to mention him again as a separate topic. He makes YouTube videos, and I don't think he has that many up there. I want to say maybe he has 15 or 20 at this point, both for verbal and for math, or quant, I should say. His videos, I don't know what it is about the way that he presents information, but I just absorbed it. I really absorbed what he was saying, and a lot of his technique is not about memorizing. It's not even about being good at math. He really teaches you that this exam is a game and it's a marathon. And so how are you supposed to be answering questions, and what are the things you should be looking out for? How are they really tricking you in those moments where you're under pressure and under stress? So he kind of walks through these tips and tricks that are super tangible. Like I remember walking away thinking, one of the concepts I can actually still remember, he said for the quant section, you don't need to get the hard ones right. You just need to make sure you don't, for lack of a better word, F up or make a mistake on the easy ones, right? Make sure that you get those easy ones because you don't get more points for the tough ones. And so that was like, it blew my mind when I heard that. And I remember thinking that on the exam, it calmed me down incredibly. So I will link his stuff down below. I highly recommend him. And it really helped. And last but not least, this is the Holy Grail. It doesn't really matter what version of the book you have. I think this was the 2018 one, which is when I started taking the exam. It's crazy that we're in 2020. I use this book throughout. There's a few more of the OG guides that I'm going to talk about for the quant section and for the verbal when I do separate videos. But overall, do your problems in these. And the one tip I will say is don't utilize this book until you have this like very good background of the exam. So I used all the GMAT Manhattan Prep resources to sort of get my practice in before I attempted the real questions, because what you will find, and it's hard to believe because of how thick this is, but you will find that you will run out of real questions to do. And at the end of the day, the OG questions are really the most comparable to what you see on the exam. And so you don't want to start, I don't want to say wasting them, but exploring some of these questions, especially for verbal, because you can't reread the passage a second time. It's just not the same experience as reading it the first time. So don't utilize the questions in this book until you actually have this firm grounding in the content and the test. But then go through this pretty extensively. I think I redid every single math problem in this twice. And that's just what I needed. I'm not saying that everyone needs that rigorous study, but I do think the questions here give you the best idea of what you'll see on the exam. The last final thing I will mention is if you don't pay for the Manhattan Prep exam or get the books, they have this, oh my gosh, I still have writing on this. They have this laminated workbook that basically mimics what you receive on the exam. And this is extremely important. To practice on this is extremely important because it's totally different than pen and paper. And a lot of the times, if you're nervous on your exam and your hands are sweaty and gross like mine, you end up wiping things during the exam. And so getting used to using this darn book that I never want to see again is really important. I will also say I had one exam where I think it really didn't go well because of the glare on this. And so I will talk about test tricks and tips where I happened to sit the first time I took, or the second time I took the exam, I think. I had a glare from the light above and I couldn't see my pad, and it was just so frustrating. So I'm going to talk about test tips and tricks. I think I was a very stressful person, and so I think that was one of the hardest things for me to overcome. So all of these resources are great. I also have a few more resources that I'm going to share in individual videos on math and quant. So if you are, or on quant and verbal. So if you're interested in learning more about my journey on the GMAT, make sure you hit subscribe below and comment down below if you have any specific questions that you want me to answer. I want to be a resource for you guys, especially for females out there who are going through this. I mean, there's just fewer of us that embark on this journey. So I'm here for you guys. Make sure you hit subscribe, ask me questions. I'm here to help and to share. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.